Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel, and we're still here at MetroEast Community Media in Gresham. I'm glad you stayed with us. Now we're going to be talking with Marilyn Shepard from Oasis. It's the Gresham Barlow Oasis program. She is the tutor coordinator. Thanks for being here, Marilyn.
Thank you for having me.
So, Oasis, is it part of the Gresham Barlow School District? What is it? How does that work?
It has been involved in the Gresham Barlow District since 1994, I think, was about the first time. Oasis is a national organization that was developed in the mid to late 80s. It began in St. Louis, Missouri. Oasis itself reaches people 50 plus, and they do classes, they do travel, and they also link older people to schools through intergenerational tutoring. And that's the piece that we focus on in Gresham Barlow.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Oasis overall is an organization, a nonprofit organization for seniors, or people over 50, you said? Mm-hmm. And so there's different aspects of it. Do you, the travel and the other things, is that active here in Gresham at all, or not?
No.
Okay.
It used to be when we had our Portland Center through Macy's was our location, and we used to have a lot of computer coursework and other things, and we actually had a couple paid staff members that coordinated everything. But unfortunately, like all nonprofits, we've gone through our times, and we've lost our Portland Center.
Recession hit the nonprofits very hard.
Yes, yes. So, but we do have several districts that have maintained the Oasis tutoring program, and each district is just kind of carried on their own.
Okay, and tell me first of all, is Oasis an acronym for something?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I just wondered. I just
no,
didn't look that up ahead of time, but I was trying to think of what it was. Okay, so the tutoring program, people that are 50 and over normally, and who are they tutoring and what do they do?
We bring the tutors in, we train them, we show them how to work with the kids, we have the program that we use. The students then are hooked up into an elementary situation. The tutors go into the elementary schools.
Elementary school kids are working
Elementary in the Gresham Barlow District, and we're not in every building at this time, but we're in a majority of the buildings.
Really? Oh, okay.
And several buildings have other programs as well. I know SMART is in several buildings, and we have other things happening. But so a tutor is linked with a child. That child sees that same tutor once a week, every week for the school year.
For that school year? Oh, so they have that continuity of getting, they get to know, they build a relationship.
Great. Yeah. And some tutors elect, and if it works out with the school, they carry on with the same student a second year at times.
Oh, that's great. If they both want it, if they both works out,
it
works out both ways. So as a tutor, what specifically are they working on? Is that one specific subject that they're?
It is reading and writing. We are really focused on developing the children's oral language. You know, even our children that are born and raised in the U.S., learning to formulate, we all know we aren't quite as good with our verbal at home as we used to be. Kids are in front of computers, kids are doing other things. So we work on formulating that oral language, because in order to be a reader, you must have a better command of the oral language.
I don't know how kids can even do it anymore after texting and everything is abbreviated, LOL and TTYL. It's like, I don't even know how they can even talk at all anymore. I mean, I would imagine eventually that's going to affect your writing skills. So do you work on writing, just writing and reading?
It is
reading,
writing, oral language. We actually have a 6-part to a typical, now in our perfect world, we would have a full hour with a student. Today, you know, we've heard a lot in our newspapers and in the media about the essential core elements.
Core curriculum.
Yes, and so we don't always get to have the kids for a full hour, but we take whatever we can get, hopefully at least 35 to 45 minutes. And so we have 6 parts to an Oasis lesson. So over the course of several lessons, they'll get to all 6 parts, but they don't necessarily every week. There is reading to the child is reading to the tutor, they are talking, they are writing together, They go back each week, they write a story together, which could be anything from one sentence to maybe a half dozen sentences. They reread that writing. Then they focus on some elements of the writing, and they do some word work. So they're doing some combination of phonics and different things that they're working on. And we do, like I say, tend to focus on the 1st through 3rd grade students. But we do have tutors that are working with 4th and 5th grade students, and I currently have 2 tutors working in the middle schools, because we've had requests that the tutors follow them into the middle schools and continue that work.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I imagine that if somebody is behind in their work or needs extra help, or if English is a second language, that's particularly difficult sometimes to keep up and to catch up.
Exactly. Yeah. And even children who sound fluent, if they're second language learners, they can be very, very fluent, but their reading and writing skills, they often take them up to 7 years to develop the same proficiency in the written language as it is in the oral language.
And that's got to be tough,
it's
just to keep up. And for the confidence of that child, just socially, that's a hindrance if you're not able to keep up.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we have a huge immigrant population here in this area, so I imagine the need is pretty high, and just for kids who were born here too.
That's it. We don't focus on necessarily the children that have learning disabilities or some of those things, because Oasis understands that those children really do need certified, well-trained staff that can focus on exactly the things they need. We tend to focus a little more on the mentoring issue. A lot of our kids may come from homes where it's a large family and they just don't have time to help every student as much. Perhaps they have mom and dad are working 2 jobs and they just don't have the physical time, or maybe they don't have the actual skills themselves to help their students to the extent they need. I've in the past have had a couple students when I was teaching. Before I retired, I had Oasis tutors in my classroom, and over a course of a couple years, I saw, because I did teach a 1-2 blend, so I had my students for 2 years, and by the 2nd year with a tutor, my kids would suddenly show more confidence. They were bright enough kids, but they just needed that cheerleader in their corner.
Well, so it sounds like it's not only tutoring and the mentoring, but it's finding somebody, like you said, a cheerleader, somebody in your corner, somebody to talk to, maybe somebody to pay attention to you.
Yes.
If you are coming from a family where both parents are working, or there's a large family where maybe you just don't get as much attention, I mean, it's easy to get lost,
Well, and I know my one tutor who's working currently right now in one of the middle schools said she is talking with her student about, he knows what he wants to do, and it's a job that wouldn't necessarily require a lot of higher education beyond, high school. But she was explaining to him why he still needed to be able to read and to write, and all the areas that he needed to be able to do this. Good. And she said, maybe you won't be the driver of the truck your whole life. Maybe you'll own your truck or own a fleet of trucks, and getting kids
expand
to
your
see.
horizons. Yeah. Tell me, do you think of any anecdotes about any kids that you know of that have really personally benefited from this, that you've seen the changes in personally or have heard about?
I had personally a student that as I said, worked with an Oasis tutor, and this little girl had a lot of, she was extremely shy, would talk to me, but would not ever talk in class.
That sounds like me as a kid.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
She was extremely shy and very sweet. I could tell she was bright, but she even had some speech issues where we thought maybe she had some sort of, it needed a little bit of help. No, she was just so nervous all the time. And after working with her tutor for a couple years, she came back and she read for me, and she had read that day in front of her entire class. So the confidence she built, and her fluency, and her love of reading truly changed.
And having somebody believe in her too.
Yeah, and
not that her parents didn't, but they don't always have time to. Or
exactly.
Even,
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Now, the reading skills obviously go up, the writing skills go up. Do you have ways of measuring that? I mean, do you measure that, or do you just go out there and just try to help wherever you can?
You mean as far as when we're
like,
selecting?
Do they test the kids, to see how they're doing?
No, we ask the classroom teachers for a student that would benefit from this, and then we actually get permission, get a written permission slip, and then the tutors begin with a book called All About Me. And this book is something that is just, they pick a page and they begin. This is a picture of me or my family and the people at my house. And they use this as kind of a springboard to get to know each other. And it has a lot of pages, and we tell them, they may take the whole year to do this book, because then they also in the session will read a book, and we ask the tutors when they begin to take something, a personal object that has some meaning to them. So they're sharing about themselves.
It's a two-way street.
Right. And they share this object, and then they read a book about something to do with that object. And then as they get to know the students, they tailor the lessons to fit what the student's interested in, because we all know that if it's something we're interested in, we work a lot harder on it.
Yeah.
And so I had a tutor at one of our elementaries that she'd been with a child since 2nd grade, and by the time she was in 4th grade, she was searching high and low for all the books on wolves that she could find.
Really? That was her passion?
That was her passion, and so this little girl would read. And this was a child that I think when she first was assigned this student, the child had just lost her mother, was living with dad and grandma, needed another female force in her life, and they came to be very close. But the tutoring does occur during the day, on the premises.
At the school.
At the school.
So it's part of the school day.
It is part of their school day. They don't take the children off on field trips or do other things with them before or after school.
Right. So tell me about the people that volunteer for this program. What are the requirements to become a tutor?
Well, we have opened up in Gresham, Barlow, we've opened the program up to any adult in our community.
It used to be 50 and over?
50 and over, but we also know that we have a lot of, I currently have several people that work, but on their day off, this is what they choose to do. So they go to the school and they work with a student. Most of our tutors see one student and that's it. Yeah. But they do have the option of taking more than one student. It's always one-on-one because we want them to have that personal time.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Extremely. But I have one tutor that tutors up to 3 to 4 kids every time she goes to the school. So she
must be a retired person.
Yes. Well, and she just has that love of working with kids. So she's been able to get a schedule where she sees a child. Our tutors go to the classroom, pick the student up, take them and work with them, and then walk them back to class. But as far as the actual requirements to become a tutor, there aren't any other than you need to be passionate about reading and writing and be willing to commit to once a week for the duration of the school year. Okay. And that's pretty much it.
Well, because it's on the school grounds and it's under supervision, there's no need for all the background checks and all that kind of thing.
We do ask all volunteers to go through our basic background checks. Okay. So they go online at our at the Gresham Barlow website, which is just www.gresham.k12.or.us. Anyway, if you just Google
Oasis
Gresham Barlow School District, and you'll see a section that says volunteer applications, and you go into that and fill that out, and that's all there is to it. And then we will be having a training, and we do ask tutors to attend. It's 2 3-hour training sessions, and we train twice a year. We train at the end of September and usually around the end of January.
So you have one coming up?
Our one coming up will be Wednesday, the 22nd of September, January, Wednesday, the 22nd of January, and Friday, the 24th of January, and both trainings are 9 to 12. And they're being held at the Gresham Barlow District Office, which is just across the parking lot from the City Hall.
Eastman Parkway.
Yes, yeah, okay. Eastman Parkway. And
so if somebody is interested in doing that, should they call to register first?
Yes, if they would either call on my number and they can contact me, or they can go online by email and contact me.
Okay, and we'll have all your information on the screen, so people at the end of the show, if they haven't shown it already, will be able to write that down.
And if they somehow miss that, they can always call the Gresham Barlow District Office, and the receptionist can get the message to me, and then I will contact them. Usually, people want to know a little bit more about what's required, but we do provide all materials.
No cost to the
the tutors, and we ask them, not to bring lots of gifts and things to the kids because
that's not fair to the other kids.
Well, and your time is the gift to the student, and we provide books, and we have a real variety, and these are just all wonderful books. For instance, and
in the woods. Who's been here?
And each book also comes with a lesson plan, so if the tutor doesn't want to create a lesson plan on their own, there is an example of something to go off of.
Okay.
And these have been written according to the national standards by nationally certified teachers. And these materials, again, come to us from our nonprofit in St. Louis, and they send us materials. But tutors know that they're also open to going to the public library or wherever, using the school library.
So if somebody has a passion for butterflies or dance or rocket ships or whatever, you can supplement with other books.
Yeah, so and we have a wide variety of topics. For instance, this one is a non-fiction, it's a fictional book, but it's on animals and a discovery walk. Monster Bug is working on the science of shadows, and so talking about science. We have some math-based books. We have a lot of different things.
You just don't tell the kids it's a math or science.
No, they just love the books. And
Franklin goes to the hospital.
Yes, and so we do have a lot of topics, and as tutors find out what's happening in the child's life, oftentimes they will seek those out.
If a child has to go to the hospital or their sister or brother does or something like that, that would be a perfectly appropriate one to do. Now, how many volunteers do you have? How many tutors do you have in the Gresham Barlow School District? Do you know?
Through Oasis, I currently have about 29 tutors, and right now I think we're in 9 out of the 11 elementaries.
That's impressive.
And again, I have one tutor at one middle school and one at another one, and we typically don't work with middle school only because the scheduling is such a difficult piece to deal with. But when they come asking us, of course, we're anxious to do what we can to help out.
Now you have a need for more.
We're always looking for more.
And this is a good time since the training's coming up.
Yes, this is an excellent time. Like I say, we provide a manual, we provide a book bag, we give you journals and things to do your recording and you're working with the kids in. And as far as, you were asking earlier about assessment, we ask the tutor to hang on to the journal, but as they go back and reread through the years, the kids can see their own growth in their reading and writing.
Oh, I bet.
They can see, I used to write like that.
I'm so much better now.
Yeah, and they see that they wrote very simple sentences, and they're using much more complex language. They're adding more adjectives. There's a lot more description in there.
That's great. That's good. That's a good all-around. What about the tutors? I bet they get a lot out of them.
The tutors have told me and that they feel like they get as much out of it as the kids do. The kids are just so bonded with their tutors. And in fact, one tutor, when I was teaching, she decided that she could take on another student. And her first little girl got very upset because she said, "But you're my tutor." And it really kind of, but she explained that I'm still with you all by yourself, and then I take the other student. So they get very possessive of their tutors.
Sweet, though.
We also find that a lot of times kids that have difficulties getting to school will sometimes want to come. Is it my tutor day today? So they want to be there for their day.
That's great. That's great. If somebody is just interested in finding out more about it, can they go to the training?
Absolutely. There's no obligation.
So if they go on and say, you know what, it's really not for me, it's okay.
And in September, I did have a couple people that attended. One person attended both days and one attended only one day. And that's fine, because sometimes people realize I'm not ready for quite this much because they are pretty much independent with the students once they get started. But it's one of those things that, yes, they can come or they can call me and ask questions, and we can talk about, you know, things that are going on. But for the most part, I think, you know, they find they like that. The other thing is, once a month we do have a monthly tutor support meeting, and it's usually on a Monday morning, and I have dates, and they don't always follow like the second Monday or whatever, but I have the dates all planned out for the rest of this year. And at the tutor support meeting, the tutors that attend, then we talk about how it's going. They share, you know, kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, you know.
So if one tutor has a problem, maybe another one has dealt with that and knows has a good solution.
Exactly. And they share ideas of things they've tried. A couple months ago, one of the tutors shared that she took in for a first grade student, a 48-piece puzzle. And she worked on organizing skills for the student and talked about how doing the outside and having the puzzle pieces put out by color and just actual, you know, things that will carry over into the work in the classroom. Just learning to be organized and think about it. And yet it's fun.
Right.
And the kids love it. Also at those support meetings, then I also do a little bit further in service. I try to have a handout so that you have something to take out with you. In the January meeting that I'm holding with my current tutors, which will actually be next Monday, we're going to talk about developmental stages of writing. And so as they're working with their writing, they can understand more about how kids learn to write. And so we'll be working on that. Next month in February, a couple of our learning specialists from the district are going to come in and teach them how to play a particular phonics game. And they'll be able to take that back and use with their students. So every month, you know, it is an optional meeting, and people don't have to attend in order to be a tutor, but it'll
enhance their work with the child.
It does.
Yeah, that sounds great. Anything else? We're just about out of time. Anything else that we should know about Oasis and this great tutoring program? I think it sounds like fun.
It is really a lot of fun, and it's a great way to connect with kids. It's also a wonderful way for people who may not have kids in school to find out what's going on in their local schools. We have so many people hearing things about, oh, they don't teach reading in schools, they don't do this and that, and they will actually be in the schools and see what's going on. And there's a lot of exciting things that we don't always hear about.
I'm sure that's true.
So it's a great way to connect with kids. And if you love kids, I mean, and children's books are so fun.
They're really well written and they're fun.
Yeah,
if you're a grandma and your children live across the country, you know, you need a little child fix there. This is a good way to connect with a kid, and yeah, I think that's a great program. Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. It sounds like a wonderful program, and it sounds like something I'd like to do. It sounds like fun.
And if people can't attend this, and this training session, you know, they can always contact the district or watch in the paper next fall, because towards the end of September we'll be training again. So if it doesn't work out this time,
you'll be doing it twice a year.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching Community Hotline tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something tonight. There's wonderful things going on in our community. There's volunteer opportunities everywhere. If you don't believe it, just watch this show every week and you'll find out something that maybe will appeal to you. I'm glad you joined us. We'll be back here next week. I'm Monica Weitzel. Thanks for watching Community Hotline.
rural Ghana, often the only thing standing between a village and the education they seek for their children is an adequate structure to hold classes. Framework International, a Portland, Oregon-based nonprofit, works in partnership with the Ghanaian public school system and local communities in Ghana to provide the physical framework and foundation to operate a school empowering Ghana's youth.
I had come through here about 9 years ago with Linfield College on a study abroad, and we had seen this dilapidated building, and it's really what looked like livestock shelter of some sort. No walls.
It was just built with a mud, and then they put this grass on top.
A lady asked and said, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, this is a school." She couldn't believe it.
That point was very moving for a lot of us, and we realized just how much we had and decided that we wanted to give back to the community that had been so warm and welcoming to us.
So Seth Prickett took it upon himself to start a project.
So how does Framework work? First, we connect with local Ghanaian partners to find potential schools that need renovation or villages that are without a school and desperately need one. We then work with the community and village chief on building plans for the school, including deciding the number of classrooms required and the best location to build it. Funds are then raised with the help of a small group of volunteers in Portland, Oregon, and generous donations from all over the world. Money raised is wired directly to the local on-site managers to purchase building materials and pay local contractors as the building work progresses. Once the school is built, the Ghanaian government helps supply it with qualified teachers. A ribbon-cutting ceremony for the school officially opens the doors for hundreds of children excited to learn.
Behind us is Framework International's first school project. We built this building for only $22,000. It's 6 classrooms and houses over 800 students. They're running morning and afternoon shift because there's such a high demand for education.
I can't even explain it, how much it has helped the children.
2 of the kids came to me and they greeted me, I responded and say, "Thank you so much for building school for us." So I was so pleased and I was touched. They have really recognized what we did for them, and they are so much appreciative.
Education for the poorest communities and the most vulnerable youth is an issue worldwide, and your donation can make a real difference in Ghana to thousands of children. Framework has been building public schools in Ghana since 2004, and with your support, we aim to broaden our reach across Africa, empowering communities and providing opportunities and education to their children.
Which means thank you.
Medasi. Medasi. Medasi.
Make a real difference and support Framework's efforts with a tax-deductible donation today.